A woman called 911 saying her husband Frank had been bitten by their pet. The paramedics were curious about what kind of pet could cause such severe swelling. Following Frank's pointing, they looked over, only to discover that the pet was a spider. This made Sylvie feel extremely nervous. She quickly asked Frank where the spider was. Frank removed the pillow next to him, revealing the spider right by his side. They immediately asked the woman to take it away. Frank said he had been napping on the couch, and he left the cage open. She must have moved in his sleep, scared her. At this point, Frank's body showed extensive swelling, along with difficulty breathing. The woman seemed confused and said her venom can't hurt humans. Emily suggested that Frank might be allergic to the spider's venom. She explained that injecting him with antihistamine would relieve all his symptoms. It seems that keeping pets requires extra caution. A teenager named Ray curled up in pain on his hospital bed, as if something was trying to force its way out from inside him. The doctor approached to help, but despite repeated questioning, Ray refused to reveal the truth. With no other option, the doctors decided to take an x-ray, but as soon as the scan was completed, the doctor ordered everyone to leave the room immediately. He then showed the others the image. To everyone's shock, the x-ray revealed a gun lodged inside Ray's body. The firearm was fully loaded and had made its way deep into the rectum. Any sudden movement could pull the trigger. The doctors didn't dare take any immediate action, fearing injuries to those nearby. Upon hearing this, the chief called in SWAT, who entered Ray's room wearing bulletproof vests. As they prepared to retrieve the gun, Ray's father demanded answers. Finally, Ray broke down and confessed the truth. His cousin, who was in prison, had asked him to smuggle a gun using his body, but before he could deliver it, the pain caused him to collapse. This revelation delayed the surgery further. As the gun had now become evidence, the team had to wait for the cops to arrive. Ray's father, losing his patience, became furious. Ray, no longer able to endure the pain, stopped trying to act tough. Luckily, the wait wasn't too long. Once the authorities cleared them to proceed, the doctors began the delicate process of retrieving the gun using a hand covered in lubricant. He carefully reached in to remove the gun, but in the very next moment, disaster struck. The gun discharged. Ray and a nearby doctor were both injured by the stray bullet.
I'm alright, how's he?
Firefighters were called out. A man was stuck halfway down a sewer grate. He said he had been walking and it had just collapsed. At that moment, the man had multiple cuts on his body. He was bleeding continuously and needed to be rescued as soon as possible. They decided to build a frame overhead. This would help secure the man and make it easier to pull him up. Crews quickly brought to rooftop ladders. Then he used safety ropes to secure the ladders in place. In this way, a simple frame was built. They placed it directly above the man. Then they tied him up with ropes. Next, they brought a blanket to cover him. They needed a grinder to cut the bars. After that, they lifted the man out with a piece of the grate still inside his body.
The woman just wanted to get her hair done, but as soon as she sat down, she felt headache. The hairstylist parted her hair and took a look. Instantly, he was so shocked that he couldn't speak. And fainted on the spot. The rescue team quickly arrived. The hairstylist also regained consciousness shortly after. The woman said she needed treatment too. She mentioned that ever since the hairstylist put these extensions in a few days ago, she felt its throbbing and had blinding headaches. Insisted on having the paramedic check it out, as the captain parted her hair.
Whoa, faggots!
You did this to me!
The paramedic reassured her not to panic. They would take care of her. Then she started cleaning up with tweezers.
No sign of systemic parasitic infection. It's definitely an infestation.
The captain suggested taking her to the hospital for treatment, but another paramedic said it wasn't a good idea, because if she were taken to the hospital, she would be shaved bald.
My head, I can't walk around with a shaved head.
The captain asked where those hair extensions came from. The hairstylist hesitated to answer, saying it was sold to him by an old man, and the source of the hair was truly horrifying. The cop quickly found the old man. Turns out the old man worked at the funeral home. In order to earn extra money, he actually resorted to such ruthless measures on the deceased.
The 911 dispatch received a call from a boy named Jacob. He said his mother wasn't responding. They were driving and she seemed lost, but wouldn't answer his questions. Maddie asked Jacob's mom, Rachel, to pull over and wait for help, but Rachel acted like she didn't hear a thing and showed no reaction. Jacob started crying in fear, begging his mom to listen. Rachel, however, sat there like a statue, completely unresponsive. Soon their car swerved into the oncoming lane, then collided with another car and another. Jacob's eyes widened in terror, his breaths coming in gasps. Maddie asked Jacob where they were now. Jacob looked around, his voice trembling. "We're about to get on the freeway," he said, "and we're going the wrong way." Meanwhile, Josh received a call. "There's a car going the wrong way on the freeway," said the caller. Before they could finish, the line went dead. More calls started pouring in. "There's a wrong way driver on the 710 freeway." Maddie urgently commanded Rachel to stop the car, but Rachel, lost in her daze, didn't hear a word. Supervisor Sue ordered the closure of all entry points past exit 43 on the 710 freeway. She also dispatched patrol officers to rescue Jacob and his mother. Rachel wreaked havoc on the freeway, cars swerving and chaos erupting in her wake. Finally, amid Jacob's desperate screams, their car collided with an oncoming truck. The impact triggered a massive chain reaction crash. The scene was devastatingly chaotic. Too horrific to witness, Sergeant Grant rushed to the scene, where the fire department had already begun rescue efforts. The captain reported at least 3 fatalities so far, and over a dozen people injured. The crashed car was heavily deformed. There was no verbal response from inside, but Etta detected a heat signal, confirming a boy was in the car. The team quickly brought out hydraulic cutters to pry the doors open, but the roof was crushed too deep to pull them out. The captain grabbed a saw and began cutting through the roof. With everyone's help, they managed to remove it. Inside, Rachel had only minor injuries, but Jacob's systolic pressure had spiked, suggesting a traumatic brain injury. The captain immediately called the pediatrica. To prepare for emergency neurosurgery, Rachel's consciousness gradually returned. Her first words were to ask about her son. Athena discovered a bottle of liquor, only 1/3 full. Furious, she said, "How many people have to die tonight because she was drunk and stupid?" This brought back painful memories for the captain, but he quickly refocused. He reminded Renfrow to disable the airbags before continuing the rescue. Before the warning could be followed, the airbag suddenly deployed. The force threw Renfrow backward, and the captain was also knocked to the ground. When the captain regained consciousness, he shouted for Chim to help Renfrow. Renfrow's face was partially burned, but he insisted on checking on the driver inside. The driver's face was also badly burned, leaving the captain momentarily shaken. At dispatch, Maddie received a call from a diabetic stuck in the traffic caused by the pileup, but she struggled to complete a sentence due to contractions. Sue noticed Maddie was in labor and sent her to the hospital despite Maddie's insistence on finishing her shift. Sue also informed the captain, telling Chim to meet Maddie at the hospital. Chim couldn't contain his excitement. Meanwhile, Athena informed Rachel's husband that Rachel had been taken into custody. He learned from the news that the crash was caused by drunk driving. Shaking his head, he said, "She would never drink and drive with our son in the car. She promised me she wouldn't." Athena asked if he was aware Rachel had a drinking problem. "She's tried to quit many times. It almost ended our marriage, but when our son was born, I thought she finally had the motivation to stop." "Could this be a mistake?" Athena replied firmly. Her blood alcohol level was 4 times the legal limit, and likely higher at the time of the crash. "It's no wonder your son called 911 saying she was lost." Hearing that it was his son who called, the man broke down in tears. At the hospital, Chim burst into the delivery room, but Maddie asked for breathing beads. Chim realized he had left them in his brother Albert's car. He tried calling Albert, but got no answer. In dispatch, May received a call. "I've been hit. I'm bleeding a lot." It turned out just 1 minute before the pileup, Albert had called 911, reporting a car driving the wrong way on the freeway. Moments later, he was rear-ended and pushed off the freeway. Sue called the captain, informing him of a driver trapped in a car. The captain was surprised, as he believed everyone had been rescued. Sue instructed May to reconnect with the caller, but the call went straight to Albert's voicemail. May was shocked, telling the captain the caller was Albert. Panic set in among the team. They immediately began searching again. The captain had an idea and contacted dispatch, asking where the first 911 call was made. May informed him it was from the slope near exit 43. Buck realized what had happened. Albert hadn't been part of the pileup. He had been hit before it all began. The team rushed to exit 43 and finally located Albert's car. Meanwhile, Maddie's baby was coming out. Albert was bleeding heavily, his pulse racing. The team worked together to lift him onto a stretcher. Hen diagnosed a ruptured spleen. As Eddie prepared to alert the hospital for a massive transfusion, a monitor started beeping. Albert's heart stopped. Hen performed CPR urgently, pleading with Albert not to give up. At that moment, a miracle occurred. Maddie's baby girl was born, and Albert's pulse returned. The news of Maddie's daughter's birth quickly spread through the dispatch center. Everyone celebrated her joy and suggested going out to celebrate. Meanwhile, Chim saw Buck arrive, carrying the hospital bag that had been left in Albert's car. Chim was stunned. The scene shifted. Chim sat by Albert's bedside, tears streaming down his face. "Bro, I became a dad today. This should have been the happiest day of my life. My daughter was born, and you've been given a second chance. Please, open your eyes." Perhaps moved by Chim's heartfelt words, Albert slowly opened his eyes.